Let's come up with a name for your business. Now, if you're at this point and you still haven't selected the product that you're going to focus on, don't continue, because you need to have the product in mind before doing this, as that is what you're going to build your brand identity around. Thankfully, we live in an era in which you don't need to use your brain to come up with names. There are a variety of tools that will help you generate great inspiration for names, and we're going to go through some of those tools right now. In our example, we're going to be building a store that focuses primarily on child's early development, such as their handwriting, their motor skills, learning to read, learning to write, learning to speak. Essentially, it's focused on child education. This is going to be the premise of our hybrid store. Good quality, positive products that make our children's lives better. It makes them smarter, it makes them more successful. What we're going to do first is use a tool that I'm sure you're all familiar with called ChatGPT. What we can do on ChatGPT is we can very specifically ask it to create 50 names for us within this niche. We just have to make sure we give them the right prompt. So what I'm gonna put is create 10 names for an e-commerce business focused on selling children's educational products, such as products that help them with improving their handwriting, motor skills, and speaking ability. Now, what's going to happen is it's going to generate names, but it might not generate names that have available domains. So what we also want to add to the end of that is with a .com domain available. And there's an easy way to check this, but we're gonna put this as our prompt and see what it generates. So it generated 10 names, and I kind of hate all of them. The reason why I don't like them is because they're not following what I talked about before. They all have 3 words: tiny tutor tools, right kids, smart speak shop. That one's okay. Little learner goods. I don't like these 3-word names. I prefer a 1-word name, or at most a 2-word name, like Sleep Band, or as we saw, 4 Chicks. But when we get Fashion Nova, Kylie Cosmetics, which they even took off the cosmetics and they just call it Kylie now. We want to have simple names. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, keep the names simple and brandable with just 1-2 words maximum. Now it's going to re-spit it out. You could actually sit here and do this for 5 hours and just get every possible name you could think of until you find something that you really like. This tool is great, but before we move on and actually pick one of these names, I'm gonna show you another tool that you can do the exact same thing on that's a little more focused for businesses. This is another free tool called Namelix. Basically, you just put in the keywords that represent your company, and it does what ChatGPT does, but it has a better focus on actually generating business brand names. So we're gonna put children's development and education. Yeah. So then it loads up and you can pick what you want. As opposed to on ChatGPT where they just crank out everything you could think of, you can pick a style of your name. So in this case, we're gonna select brandable names like Google and Rolex, and we're gonna go ahead and put high, and we're gonna make sure we put the check domain box as well. And now it's gonna generate us not only a bunch of names, but it's gonna give us examples of branding for these businesses as well. And there's a couple good ones that I like already. You have Wonder Kids, you have Child Skills, you have Kid Labs. I kind of like Kid Labs, that one's pretty interesting. You have Child Labs, but it's spelled wrong, so I don't like that. Kid Skills is interesting. We're gonna scroll through this and I'm gonna pick 3 that I really like. Youth Labs is really good. I like the term labs because it sort of represents that we're going to have educational and smart products. Let's keep scrolling. You can see this generated me hundreds of names in just 1 second. And it also gave me ideas for logos too. So this is a great tool to use. I really recommend using this. I use it all the time and you guys would get a lot of use out of it as well. So let's try this name right here, youthlabs.com. Now, sometimes the domain is actually not available. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to a website called godaddy.com and we're gonna look up the name right here. So youthlabs.com. So it's available, but it's available for a lot of money, 170,000 dirhams, which is a lot of dollars. But we also have .co available. And there's no issue with using .co. Stay away from .net, .org, or any of those other weird ones, but it's available with .co, which is a good thing. It's also available with a dash in it. So it's okay to use names with one dash, or it's okay to use names with a .co. There are massive brands that have a .co in them. So this is an option. youthlabs.co is actually a great option. I really like this name, and it allows us to test a variety of products in the children's space. You can do the same for these other ones. You have Kid Skills, but I don't like that one better. And Kid Labs, which, I don't know, youth is a stronger word for me. I think it stands out more. I think it's a little bit more brandable, but we'll have a look at Kid Labs just because I want to see if it's available. Okay, so Kid Labs is available and it is a lot cheaper, so it's an alternate option. But as you can see, in under 5 minutes, we came up with a brand name for this business. Now, maybe we could have come up with something a little bit better, but I like this because it represents youth and it represents labs, it represents education, it represents the exact type of products that we want to sell on this store. Because we're going to actually be building a store with this, I'm going to scroll around and see if I can find any other options for names. And if not, we're going to stick with Youth Labs because I really like it and I think it's catchy. So we also have Brain Build, which I think is interesting, but it's not focused on children. And as you can see, it's not available, but .co is available, which we can totally use. When I first started Sleepband, we started it with sleepband.co until we had enough money to buy sleepband.com. So you don't need to have the .com right away. You have Alphabet Kids, which is also pretty interesting because it's very specific to the type of product that we're going to be selling. Though it's a bit long, and I don't really see a way to sort of brand that. It's actually not available. Yeah, I don't like that name. Okay, so after some heavy consideration, this is the name that I would like to go with. I think it represents this brand that we're trying to build perfectly. It's catchy, it's easy to say, but this logo that they've automatically generated, it's not doing it for me. It looks like a video game like Overwatch or something. So what we're gonna do in the next video is I'm gonna walk you guys through how to design a logo for your store. It's also not as hard as you think it is, especially when we use this tool that I'm gonna show you that makes it pretty much automatic. So I'll see you guys in the next video where we build a logo and create